Yeah, we're here Sunday. Um, Lots of stuff going on today. Oop, hang on. Shit, see, that's a StreamYard. StreamYard, fix your settings so that people's settings get remembered. Is that too much to ask? Every other platform seems to manage it. I love your software. I'm rooting for you. I want you to be the best out there.
I
Welcome,
wonder.
Chris.
I wonder if things like that work better if you pay them with the more money. It's kind of one of those things. I wonder if like that kind of functionality comes with like tiers,
There's no way I would even consider going to the next tier unless I knew it would save my
unless you
settings.
knew it was going to.
That's
Yeah,
when it
me too.
becomes like value negative. Um,
Same exact thing here. Yeah.
we were talking about all kind of stuff. Like for starters, we're gonna try to read through some of Chris's script tonight. So if we're not sure what time, but we'll set it up later. And if you're interested, just show up and hop on the stream. We need a couple of female voices at least, and some male voices. So whoever can pull that off. Boobs won't hurt. And I think there might even be a role for a panel daddy as an extra. And then we were also talking about this video game that sounds really cool called Dopacon Kingdom. And I'm going to read you a little, like a comment from just the Steam page from one of the commenters. Hang on, let me find it. This game brings out the demon in everyone. Your entire goal is to be a crab in a bucket, dragging everyone down to your level. And that made me think of the trolls on the Panelverse. They're crabs in a bucket. They come on these streams and they try to drag the conversations down to their level instead of helping to raise it to the level that everybody else is trying to keep it at. Crabs in a bucket. And remember that term. I have a feeling it's going to be showing up a lot. Then once you're at the top, you're like a boomer in the housing market, kicking everyone down beneath you while you tell them it's their fault for being in poverty and referencing how you picked yourself up by your bootstraps, despite the fact that you face no economic pressures like you. See, this already sounds butthurt and resentful. A little demon comes and literally sits on your shoulders, telling you to dismantle the establishment board by. Is there a literal demon?
Yes, there is.
I want to play. Okay, so anyway, we're talking about streaming this tonight too. I am a noob. I've never seen it before. I don't know anything about it. I know that there's a demon in it, and I'm hooked. And so I'm gonna attempt to play it with Chris tonight. We're gonna try to stream it on his channel. So that's all just today coming up. All the excitement, and the stream hasn't even started yet. So there you go.
And yeah, it's one of these games. It's a game that came out a long time ago on the Wii and on the PS2, I want to say too. So it's a really old game, but they re-released on Steam with like the ability to do like online play and stuff. And so I can like, so like if one person buys it, I can like remote link each.
So you have it, and you can invite some of the rest of us. How many? What's the maximum?
I think it's up to 4. It's just up to 4, but still. But up to 4 people can play, and basically you all start out. You get to choose if you're a boy or a girl. I think that's about it. You don't really get much. You don't really care much character creation, but it's meant to start really fast. And then like you basically roll dice to like move down the board, and on every single square of the board, there is something like either like really fortuitous or really tragic that could happen to you. And if you land on a square with the other player, then you automatically go into fight mode. You have to fight each other. And whenever you fight each other, like I mean, it's done through like Rosham. It's not like anything like like particularly fair. It's pretty random.
Do they dramatize it?
Yes, it's dramatized. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun just because of how like ridiculous it gets and how much you can screw over your friends.
Oh, I'm already. I love those kind of games where I can let out my inner Machiavel, my inner sociopath. Absolutely. If I ever went on like Survivor or Big Brother, I already know I would end up being the villain. Like America would come off there hating me.
Well, they keep
into the game.
They're doing auditions right now, man. Maybe you should audition for Survivor.
I want to. Like I've considered it. Y'all may see me on there one day. Don't rule it out.
I mean, what would it take for you to go audition to them? Do you have to send a tape in?
Motivation, and it's all video. All I have to do is sit and turn the camera on and make a video. How hard is that? I do it every day.
Man, dude, I'll help you. I'll direct your video. Like we'll create. We'll get you a green screen or something. We'll put you on Survivor Island. I have a full ass green screen I can send you, and you can put it behind you. We'll put you on the island already, and we'll be like, you can be like shirtless, and you can be like, I'm here to survive.
I want to, yeah, like show that somebody, because the game is all about social perception, and
I mean, dude, if
and
Mike
I'd
White,
show that somebody with my deficits could still win a game like this.
if someone like Mike White could make it as far as he made his season on Survivor, that little little shrimpy screenwriter dude,
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just like screenwriter. He wrote that show for Lisa Kudrow, the one where she was like a
How We Cherish.
Yeah,
He wrote that.
yeah, that was his
I
show.
used to watch that. Oh, I thought it was pretty bad.
No, maybe that's the wrong one. Enlightened. He made the show Enlightened with Laura Dern.
Oh, okay.
That was Laura. I get them confused. I get those issues. Yeah, the one that show Enlightened with Laura Dern. Did you see that show?
Mm-mm.
It was on HBO. It was very similar to the Lisa Kudrow one. I think Lisa Kudrow was in that show too. But yeah, he made that show. He made a show called Mike and Buck or something like that.
Chuck and Buck.
Yeah.
That was him.
Yeah, that's actually him in the show. It's actually he plays Buck in the
Oh, that's wait. You're gonna was that Chuck or Buck? That
Chuck
was
and Buck. Chuck and Buck. That's it. Chuck and Buck.
That was a kind of unsettling movie.
It is an unsettling movie. Yeah.
That what? Oh fuck! That's where I know him from. I didn't know he was in the movie. I didn't even know he made the movie. That was Buck from Chuck and Buck on Survivor, and I didn't even recognize him the whole time. I've watched the season like 2 or 3 times. Wow, I remember Chuck and Buck.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters like a long time ago. It was one of the very first films that was ever released in theaters that was shot on DV. And so at the time, it was a really big deal for like burgeoning indie filmmakers, because like this was like an example of a film that was shot on like consumer digital cameras that it could be made by literally anyone. You didn't have to.
Have you watched it since? Is it something that
I watched it? I don't know, probably 10 years ago. Since I haven't seen it in a long time, but like it held up pretty. I mean, it's not like a great film, but it is an interesting movie. It is a very interesting movie. I think that was one of his big starting points. He also did he's also written a lot of like mainstream screenplays for things. He
did School of Rock, didn't he?
School of Rock, yeah. I was about to say School of Rock. Yeah. He wrote School of Rock, and he wrote several other mainstream scripts. So I'm just saying, for like a little like thin like waif of like a Hollywood, literally a Hollywood like pampered kind of elitist kind of person like him can make it that far in Survivor, dude. Like
I didn't see him as a pampered elitist, although he was on the David tribe, so maybe so. He seemed very down to earth to me. Like I could even hang out with him.
He seemed like David very down to earth, but I know who he is in real life. I'm saying like I think you're.
Well, he pulls off an average working class intellectual very well. Because I didn't get elitism from him at all.
Yeah, he didn't mention his fact that his fame or anything like once, but he's like, the thing is he's already a multimillionaire, so like he wasn't there for the prize money, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, he seemed like just a fan, like he liked the game.
That's why whenever we started watching that season,
too, they've had
when we started watching that season, that's why I asked if this was like a celebrity edition, because like I was like, why is Mike
He's
White
a celebrity in your world, but most of America had no idea who he was.
Yeah, that's true. He has been in some things, but yeah, I mean, yeah, but he's mostly a screenwriter. So
they have sports people in there all the time that I don't know, but everyone else does. The most famous person was probably Lisa Whelchel. Blair from Facts of Life was a contestant one year. Just a random contestant. They just threw her with everybody else. There's nothing special about the season.
Well, like the difference between like her and like Mike White though is like Mike White is still working. He still like has like, he still gets work today. He wasn't like, he still writes for HBO.
Yeah, I haven't seen Blair since Facts of Life actually. So
yeah,
that was the first time in decades.
Hey there, TCPS.
Joe,
how's it going?
J.R. Busk. J.R. Musk. Maybe I should say. Looking all business like, and like,
Right, are you going to church, or did you get back from church?
Nah, I don't go to church anymore.
Oh,
I don't blame you.
This is
It would probably be a good. It would probably be a good idea for us to go and involve ourselves in a church. It might be a good way to get.
Trying to find Satanists around here that are not woke. I would love to get involved in a church.
But I can't. Every time we've tried a couple of times. I told Cynthia I'd go with her to hers, but she hasn't told me where it is or anything. So
y'all should go to a black church and stream it. That would be so. Those are the best churches. Y'all would have so much fun, like a Color Purple church.
I mean, I have no issue going, but I have been to black churches with my black friends before, and it's always been a very uncomfortable experience. There's you have these eyes on you. There's these eyes
they thought we dressed up, we look like he does. We put out sports coats and everything, and they thought we were running for office. We were out there to canvass for votes. I'm like, no,
we did too.
We
tried to dress in typical black church dress attire, and
they were super friendly. They thought we were way more important than we actually were. They were
friendly, but it was friendly in this kind of
suspicious,
very mannered way of oh, you're a white person at this church. Why are you here?
I should have just said, I'm not white. Me white? Come on, no, girl.
Well, I do, but I sound white. I look white. I'm as white as they get.
My friend was Mexican. He looked obviously Latino.
Well, I could say one thing. My experience with black churches is I went to a black charismatic church in college a few times, and I thought it was great. I thought it was way cooler than any of the white churches I ever went to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're way more entertaining. Especially the preachers.
That's why I had to leave. I was afraid that I would start laughing and they would know I was.
Oh, I thought. Look, you're supposed to kind of laugh and
I actually felt guilty. I'm not kidding. I had an attack of conscience. I said these people are very into their religion. I'm just here really to play because I'm bored. I just want to entertain myself and check out something interesting in this little city I live in. And I don't think I'm here for the right reasons. And I don't feel good. I feel like I'm pulling off a fraud. And they think I'm here for purposes that are more noble than they actually are. And I don't feel good about continuing this charade. And so I left in the middle of mass. I just snuck out and left. I just did not feel good. I didn't mean for them to have the impression. But once I realized they did, I realized I was so far off of that impression that I was not there for any kind of reason remotely.
Yeah, I only went because I
and then so I felt like I was fooling them, even though I didn't mean to. And at that point,
I had black friends that invited me, so I went with them. I sat with them and everything. So I wasn't going to sneak out or anything like that. But I just kind of followed the cues of the crowd and stuff like that, the way the crowd reacted, and just kind of just stuck.
I love the dancing and singing and jumping and praising the falling out part. I want to hear more about. I'm just gonna call you Joe for now. Joe's black church story, but also Frank just started his streaming again. He's streaming that video game with the schizophrenic lady that hears demons and voices. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to show a little bit of that too. So we can talk about black church.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know. I want to keep the long story short, but I was involved in a lot of, I guess, activism of various types when I was in college. And at one point I got semi-involved with a black youth ministry. And they took me to this church a few times. I thought it was the best church I'd ever been to. I mean, if you could handle the 4-hour-long service, real commitment.
Right. The sermons are long, but they're so energetic though. You don't even notice it, right? They're so energetic. There's so much energy behind it. They're just we've got to kick Satan's ass kind of thing, it gets you this, yeah, come on. I want to show
antlers now.
They're like a wrestling announcer, they get you all hyped up for this fight, that doesn't really happen, but
very different than the Presbyterians.
Yeah. Oh, I went to I think once or twice I went to a Presbyterian service. Like those were the worst. The Presbyterian and the Episcopalian ones were like the most boring.
Yes. Very it's like Lawrence Welk. Very white, proper.
I'm thinking of shaving my beard today. You want me to do it on camera? You want me to shave my beard?
You have a beard off with Chuck. I need to shave too. I was gonna save it till tomorrow, but maybe we could. Would that be weird?
Tomorrow.
For men to shave their beards on camera together.
Yeah, we'll all shave our beards.
I want to show.
I'll shave it until my Hitler mustache, just for a minute, just for a little while or so, just like for the stream.
It's amazing. I want to show a little bit of this video. It's about mental health and demons. Do they have captions? No.
It's a good game. Like I played it a long time ago, but I don't think I quite finished it. I got stuck on some like on one of the last bosses, and it
makes me want to go camping and run around the wood. That's what these games do. I don't want to sit in front of a TV and look at a fake version of this. I used to do this stuff in real life. I want to be out there. Do they have real life video games like where they design obstacle courses in the wilderness with puzzles and people to fight that people can do real life, like live action video games? I don't want to do the fire part. I would. I'm happy with the simulation here. Very realistic. I've never.
Well, in my experience, going out and exploring in the woods involved like almost falling down a cliff and having to.
Frank, what did you do?
What?
Demons! Demons!
But you mustn't look away from the horrors it does.
You
cannot overcome suffering if you refuse to look at it.
Yo, who is this made? What audience level is this made for?
I don't like if you look. There's a bunch of behind the scenes things about this game though, and it's really interesting. They employed like a team of real psychologists to make the psychosis part realistic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I've never had a psychosis, but the voices are cool. Just aesthetically, I'm enjoying them way more than I thought. I was ready to not like her. I thought she was going to be a woke mental health victim.
No, she's not woke.
Poor me, but she is kicking ass. Her voices are cool. I'm rooting for her.
Yeah.
Come on,
yeah,
Frank.
There's nothing particularly woke about this game. Like this game is.
She sees like demon symbols and demons talk to her. I am relating to her. Maybe she could be like my female alter ego, even. Look at that. She's active. She's independent. She can handle her shit and stay crazy at the same time. I think she has a lot to offer. I do. Well, I posted this before I finished reading it, but I did prefer the live action as a kid than the tabletop. We did a lot of that. We in the forest and everywhere else, on the railroad tracks, in the tunnels, in abandoned buildings. Everywhere we could get away with it, we did.
Yeah, Daniel, I know what you're talking about up there, but like I don't think we need to talk about that on stream. I don't want to talk about her like that. I feel really bad for that lady.
Well, don't bring it up. I didn't even know what it was till you brought it up.
Okay, I mean, but I'm just answering what someone said in the chat. I'm just trying to shut that down. I just don't want that to become a theme of the conversation in the chat.
Hey, Auntie, welcome. We're watching Frank. This is Frank with boobs. That he hears voices and sees demons, and he's trying to. I don't know what's the mission, to figure out reality, or just to save.
He's trying to save her boyfriend from like hell or something like that, but like you know.
Oh yeah, she's in hell. That's the other cool part. This is all takes place in hell. Oh wow, maybe not that part. I could do without the dead bodies hanging. Is this YouTube friendly?
Well, it's held, so yeah, it's YouTube
That's
friendly. He's
true.
streaming it right now.
All right.
Although I do wonder that about when I was testing out the Saboteur earlier, I realized like the opening of the game has like a lot of like digital titties in it.
Okay, we're gonna he's gonna wander around for a bit. I'll come in and out on the action, and I want to hear more about TCPS, his thoughts. And yesterday we were having a really good conversation on mental health and men in the modern world.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like to just sort of continue and follow up from that, we could definitely do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Where do you remember where we were?
Well, we were just sort of talking about this basically that we just have this profound mismatch, right? Like what we're supposed to like the male role that's been constructed in modernity is just a very strange one that doesn't really have any continuity with the past or with other cultures. And I think that men are you're bearing the brunt of the problems with it, right?
Like so many things in the modern world. Just so we're all clear, what is the specific current male construct or model?
Basically, it's the assembly line workaholic who's socially isolated and lives basically as like a corporate wage slave.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good for anybody. Do we have a lot of those?
Yeah, I would say that's the majority.
He was what is it called? The digital handcuffs or the corporate. He was like 24 hours a day on the device that they could check in with him at any time and ask him to do things. And it was the like golden handcuffs too, because they pay you enough to where you don't want to leave, so you're at their mercy of every little thing they tell you to do 24 hours a day. There was no off the clock.
And you know what? I think that a lot of, especially like, because you look at these people that are really successful actually, I'll talk about the comment that you just displayed in a minute, but like the
I was agreeing with it.
It's interesting because I guess I would ask what the definition of masculinity is, because I think that this modern construct of masculinity is extremely unmasculine and it's extremely harmful to proper masculinity.
That's a good question. What is masculinity and what is the ideal masculinity? And I do think it changes with the needs of the times and the culture. I was using it purely subjectively as what turns me on, like in the way Auntie was saying it. Like I know masculinity when I see it because my hormones start to go up. But that's just a purely individual subjective definition of it for this comment.
Dale, I'm not trying to tell you what to say, by the way. I'm not trying to tell you what to say. I'm not trying to control your speech, man. I'm just
Yeah.
It's not about that. I just want to say that. That's all. I guess that's all I'll say. It's not about trying to control your speech. It's just it's not worth it to bring it up to me because.
Well, let's not keep it going. Let's just keep talking about masculinity. So, I mean, like, I see it as like independence, leadership, ability to get things done, like to carry out tasks, problem solving, reliability, protection, defense, that kind of stuff. Like those are all values that are traditionally associated with like a male role. It doesn't necessarily have to maybe be a biological male. And those are some of the things that show up in the conversations with the men's groups that I've been involved in, as far as the role of men in modern society, or at least the traditional role, the traditional concept of that role.
Yeah, I would generally agree. You know what's interesting though is that I think that so a properly well-rounded man would do things that our society might not deem as masculine, but I think really are.
Like nail polish and.
No, I don't mean like obviously not like that. I mean like so in our society, the way that we're constructed, the male and female roles. It has absolutely nothing to do with biology or what they do in other cultures, but the silly way we've constructed it says that, like, basically, like men are in some degree, basically it's like good for them to be deficient in social skills. It's good for them to be deficient in
I always thought that was just natural, like men just are underdeveloped in that area compared to women. At least that was the case with me and my family. But
that's
it
not
seemed like that's just not a male strength. That's more of a female strength. Not that they're deliberately constructed to be that way.
well, but the problem is that if that were just something that's natural to maleness, then we would expect to find the same trend across the board, but we don't. Like, we don't find like the quote unquote male deficiency in social skills doesn't exist in Madagascar or some place like that.
I wonder why.
Joe, I have a question real quick. I mean, because you know all the stats and sort of thing.
Chris, keep talking, but I'm just going to run an action scene in the back while you do.
Okay.
It's demons. She's fighting demon creatures or something. Or she was. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering, like, I have personally noticed it's anecdotal, so like I don't know if there's any statistics on this that makes it right or anything. So I'm curious if there's actual statistics on this. That it seems like those antisocial kind of like Asperger's.
Hang on, Chris. You might be echoing.
Me?
That's what the comment's saying.
Hello? Hello?
Is it still there?
I don't hear it.
The chat's saying it's echoing.
Anyway,
it sounds different to viewers than it does to us for some reason. I wish StreamYard would equalize.
I mean, I did hear it for a second, but I don't hear it now.
Well, anyway, go ahead, continue.
Anyway, I'm just wondering, have you seen any stats or anything that show that, like, the antisocial kind of parts of the autism spectrum, like Asperger's, stuff like that? I seem to see that a lot more in men than in women.
It depends on what you mean by antisocial, because a lot of things are interpreted as antisocial that are not necessarily antisocial.
Well, I mean, like
from their
Asperger's,
perspective.
like the ability to the inability to empathize and kind of sense other people's emotions and kind of like and just kind of like act in like that.
You think men are like evolutionarily weaker in that?
I don't know. I'm
well, that's what Joe was saying about like like in Madagascar they're not that way. So I wonder are the social norms in Madagascar easier for men to pick up on or something?
Well, I would say that what it is that I guess like this way that men and women are raised from childhood is fundamentally different. So like male speech and female speech in our society, right, stereotypically is like men are terse and direct and assertive, whereas women are more talkative. They're more indirect. Like that's reversed in Madagascar, and they actually did studies of
I need to move to Madagascar. I don't like that indirectness. That's one of my complaints. So it's possible to socialize.
In Madagascar,
well, actually, it is. Even in the South, the women are way more direct. So, I can see where culture or or environment would influence something like communication norms and directness or indirectness, maybe even levels of introversion, extroversion, social ability.
And as for the question about like autism, why does autism seem to present more in men than women? It's interesting. Actually, that's not exactly true, right? Like it
just looks different.
What I was asking, I wasn't trying to make a truth statement. I was
I didn't understand your question. Like the rates of autism in men. You mean that how many of this might be due to neurodivergence and not just all men?
Well, I meant like specifically the antisocial aspects of the autism spectrum. Like I said, Asperger's, those kind of like where someone seems to have a lack of empathy or a lack of understanding.
Social deficits.
Yeah, I seem to notice that less in men, less in women than I see in men. Whereas
I think it's contextual because relative to me, I think women have social deficits in their ability to read and pick up on me. So I don't want it to be just men that get framed that way because there's enough women to point it out. I think any group can experience that with any other group. It goes into theory of mind and double empathy.
Well, it's interesting because with the issue of autism, there's a couple things I could say about that. There's a huge degree of evidence that and actually it looks like Daniel Price is actually predicting what I'm going to say. There's a huge degree of evidence that's seriously underdiagnosed in women. And that one sign that's underdiagnosed is that the more high functioning the autism is, aka the more likely it is that it could potentially be masked, the more male it is. So there's actually not a men are not more likely than women to have low functioning autism. It's specifically as you go up into the higher levels of social functioning that all of a sudden you get like it's 80 to 90% male. And by the way, even that's disappearing now with like Gen Z and Gen Alpha. But this is largely due to differential diagnoses. And another thing I would say is that, because you could say, well, within autistics, though, it seems like the men are more are more severe than the women. But even with that, I'm not familiar with cross-cultural data on autism, but I am familiar with cross-cultural data on schizophrenia, which is, of course, has similar symptoms of like social withdrawal and difficulties in social situations. And interestingly, in America, schizophrenic males seem to be worse affected, but in the Middle East, schizophrenic females seem to be worse affected.
Right. It also seems like there's more females that are affected with schizophrenia to some degree, but the males that are affected with it are affected with it far worse.
In the West, yeah.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot more women that have some degree of schizophrenic traits, but when men have it, it's a lot more extreme.
What's the thinking behind the difference between the Middle East and us?
Well, it's just cultural differences, and it has nothing to do with, like Middle Eastern culture being more patriarchal or something, because you can find, Madagascar is pretty close to a matriarchal culture, and yet, like I said, they still show this reversal of the way that things are done in the West. It's just that people are raised differently. They have different, they come into the world with different understandings of what male and female roles are. And I guess it's that we're weird, right? We're
WEIRD. Yeah. Well, and another problem I can think of with the Madagascar is, I think the modern world, whether it's the US, the West, whatever, we're too diverse for just one model to fit all of us as a society. And in cultures like Madagascar, it might be easier to have a standard model that everybody can conform and adapt to. But on our scale, with our diversity, I think we're looking at numerous models, and people finding the ones that work for them within the liberal framework.
What's the population of Madagascar versus your average U.S. state, and how many of those live in small villages versus more large city type environments?
Oh, it's definitely way less populated and way more rural.
Yeah, it's like they tend to live in smaller communities, right?
Yeah,
they don't really have many big city type things. So that in itself leads to a certain degree of conformity, I guess, in those smaller groups, And I don't mean conformity in a negative sense. I mean in the positive sense in this case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The situation is going to be the modal personalities are going to be much more universal the smaller the group that you have, right? There's less diversity of much of anything in a tribal society compared to a modern state.
Yeah.
I
think that's one of the issues you're going to run into anywhere is scale. At a certain scale, your models are going to have to adapt. One single model won't be sufficient anymore. You're going to have either multiple models or a very complex, flexible, adaptable meta model.
Well, I wonder if it's as simple as something like the fact that women are expected to be more socially adept, and therefore, like,
okay.
you
Let
have
me
I think that's social programming.
no. Let me stop right here so I can understand it. When you say they're expected to, how do they know? How I don't know what's expected of me. No one's. I don't. How do they know what's expected? Is someone telling them this? Are they interpreting
Well,
it
it's
from like, TV
inculcation.
commercials?
It's this
It's
notion of
intuitive.
inculcation.
What is the
It's intuitive.
process of how this expectation becomes conscious?
It's inculcation. It could be it's just subtle differences in the way that they're raised. Like in our society, parents on average speak a significantly larger number of words to very young daughters than to very young sons.
Oh,
It's like just even something as subtle as that.
I noticed growing up, absolutely, there was a night and day differences between the way girls got treated and the way boys got treated. And none of it was verbalized. I just noticed we're not getting the same. They're getting this. We're getting this instead. It was very obvious to me as a kid, and it wasn't spoken, programmed, taught, but it was experienced. But like, I think every one of us took our own interpretations of that because there was no one telling us one definitive interpretation.
Yeah. No, I would say that because, I'm somebody who, from the age of about 6 or 7, I always instinctively understood that the way the West was doing things was wrong and was screwed up.
Do you remember your first epiphany, or was it a TV show or just something you noticed in life?
Oh, it was just even like just as a kid and like peer groups and things like that. It was always just because I remember there was something weird. Like I was seen at about the age of 6 or 7 as being a weirdo because I had a lot of female friends, which is weird because once you get older, that's like a good thing, right? That means you're a
It's
chad.
like third grade.
Yeah, or maybe even first grade. It was like what if you're about, but a lot of it was by adults too, right? Like the adults around you are like, what the heck? Why is this boy popular with girls? Like it's weird to think about because by the time you're 15, 16, that's a positive. But when you're a small child, it's like, no, you got to be in the all male peer group, and there's something bizarre if you're like, it's almost like it's
was this like unspoken playground rules that kids kind of just organize themselves by?
Yeah,
when left to them.
But the thing is that that adults had a similar idea, right? Like, I remember being pressured to like play with the boys more often.
Like teachers would come and say, "Hey,
yeah,
why don't you go play with?" Oh yeah, that would be weird to me if a teacher did that. I would never do it as a teacher, and it was never done to me. Okay, although in PE, like certain PE classes, they would divide the board. Like they'd have the boys do this activity or the girls do kickball or something like that. And that wasn't weird. It was just for that 1 hour of the day. But on the playground, the teacher was there to like keep us from fighting and stuff. Other than that, they did not try to interfere with our play. And it would have been weird for them to come and start telling us who to play with.
To be fair, they weren't all like that, but there were some who were.
Yeah.
Could you ignore them and say, "Oh, that's okay, I'm gonna play with the girl," or would they make you go play with the boys?
I don't recall being I don't think I recall. I'm also remembering back, to being 6 years old when I'm in my 30s, so I'm not necessarily
right.
100% perfect memory, but like no, I would say that I don't recall being forced, but I recall it's very much as like, there was this unconscious social pressure that, or sometimes not even unconscious, like a conscious social pressure that I instinctively knew was ridiculous. And
I think your instincts were right.
I wonder how much of that came from like teachers being worried about girls and boys playing doctor and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of the people where I grew up were like super fundamentalist Christians. So they would have had hang-ups.
Are they the type to play doctor more?
Well, I'm just saying that the boys and girls do that. Like they play. I mean, even as a child, like I did that.
Oh, I know. There were stories.
Without having any idea what that meant. you play doctor as a kid, and so I'm just wondering if that inclination towards teachers,
like it's not so much to condition social roles, but to just protect.
it might, yeah, it still might have that effect to condition the social roles, but essentially the reason they might be doing it is basically keep boys and girls from like touching each other's no parts, you know.
Right, that's Chesterton's fence. Before you tear down a policy, understand why it was put there in the first place.
Right.
No, I understand why it's put there. I just think it's totally maladaptive and completely at odds with what adaptive functions.
How much of that do you think most people carry with them into their adult life? Because like having a teacher on the playground say play with the boys, I think by the time I reached adulthood would not have that significant. I'd still be mostly in control of how I thought.
No, I think that what happens that most people when they are inculcated with these values, they internalize them, and that ends up. I mean, well, obviously, you know, they say the child is father of the man, right? Like the way that you're raised is going to have incredible amounts of impact on the sort of person that you eventually become.
Yeah. And each family raises their kids. That's what I'm saying. So like in something like America, no two families are going to raise their kids.
But we're not raised just by our families. Like we're never, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. We're
So
always, even in a modern society.
Like school, churches, media.
Yeah, and all that goes into how one turns out.
Yeah, I can see that. So, but even that, I think, emerges from the community itself at the community level, and each community around the country are going to have different versions of how they structure things that just emerge naturally from the people that make up that community. Or maybe there's like historical traditions that the community keeps going or something.
Yeah, there are reasons. I mean, one can clearly trace.
But I'm just saying you're going to have a variety. So I think how to centralize or standardize that is going to be the problem. And by the way, hi, Machine. Welcome.
Yeah, I was the same thing. But hi, Machine. How are you doing, man?
Greetings.
Welcome to the machine. Welcome the machine to the machine.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't been so exhausted these last few nights. I wanted to go and check in with your stream and stuff, but like I've been working this car like in the afternoon, like really late.
I know he barely can make this one. He really is that car working that.
Yeah,
car.
so like I haven't had the energy to go. Like last night I went on with Jeff for like a little while, but I was like laying down most of the time. I couldn't even like sit up.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Well, it's definitely worth a watch, I would say, because I'm getting better at kind of curating these conversations. And
was that a new conversation, or were you? It looked like a restream, and then everybody was watching it at the bottom.
Yeah, it was. It was 8 hours of a single debate review, including a postmodern, viewpoint, a traditional Bible Belt viewpoint, a person who called in from Israel. So we had all different perspectives on who the Jews are and the religious debate. So really, it was fascinating discussion.
How long was the original debate that y'all were reviewing?
It was like 3 hours long. So we had 8 hours of discussion.
Wow.
But really, the video that we watched, the portion we watched, was only 2 hours. So just based off of 2 hours of debate footage, it led to like 8 hours of continuous discussion on religious issues. And
that's awesome. I'm gonna put the link. That is. Wow.
Yeah, there was there was really not a pause in between, and So I mean, I was happy to have everybody's contributions there, and even to see like just how much the traditional, like a lot of people think that Adam Green doesn't know what he's talking about, but there was a Jew from Israel that was basically agreeing with most of what he was saying. So it was actually very fascinating type of stuff. Because he was aware of it.
He was agreeing that Christianity and Islam were psyops created by the Jews.
Well, he was agreeing that they play a pivotal role within securing the Jewish history. Like in other words, he understands that these things are written into the rabbinic literature. That Christianity and Islam are ostensibly written about in the rabbinic literature as historical events that basically caused the Jews to return to Israel. So
Okay.
they're aware of the kind of they've incorporated history into their prophetic revelations, to like quite extensively, to where they don't see it as an accident, the birth of Christianity and Islam.
What's interesting, I was going to cover this. Well, to make a long story, hopefully not super long, I attempted a live stream earlier today, and YouTube was suppressing my channel again, so it got absolutely nowhere. But I was hoping to talk about some of the things, because I actually went and I watched the original debate, the whole thing, this morning.
It's a mess, right?
Yeah, it was. What's sad is that it was actually, like, I think the best Adam Green debate so far, just because,
Right.
like, the other ones were all so terrible.
Because they actually talked about history, right?
Yeah. Like, comparing it to the David Patrick Harry debate, which is a clown show.
Oh, yeah.
I like him. What
I like David Patrick Harry, but that debate was terrible.
I don't agree with him all the time, and his thing on Satanism was completely off. But I do like his intelligence and his attempts to think through and express some of the issues and like. I find him very. He's a good interlocutor.
Yeah, and I will say one thing: like, he's the only one of the orthobros that I would still actually pay attention to anymore, because he talks about anthropology. Like, he's kind of out of place to some extent, and I actually wonder how
he's kind of more of an academic, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, he's very nuanced. He doesn't have like a lot of the, like, he's not a Jim Bob, you know what I mean? He's very much on the opposite end of the intellectual honesty spectrum.
Well, what I like about him is his pushback against transhumanism. So he actually does significant work in that area. But then the thing about it is his understanding, because of his Christian background of Satanism, as Jeff said, is basically cartoonish. So it's kind of ridiculous the way he explains satanic doctrines. And I get that from a lot of the Orthodox crowd. They're very hyperbolic in their explanations of some of these, doctrines. They kind of take them at face value, and that's possibly wrong. And then, but in the Adam Green debate, it was a total embarrassment, because he's a one-trick pony. He's just trying to precept him into oblivion, and Adam Green wouldn't even bite. So
who was he debating?
Adam Green.
Who was Adam debating?
David Patrick Harry.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is a classic. Yeah, this is a classic Crucible debate. That was an absolute, as they say, dumpster fire, where it just like completely had no bearing on reality. A debate that just totally unhinged from.
It was interesting. It was, as far as I know, it was one of the only Crucible debates where the audience, despite being theologically on David Patrick Harry's side, even most of the audience were like, "Yeah, Adam Green won."
Oh, really? Against David?
Yeah.
I think maybe he I don't know. Maybe David Patrick Harry snorted some Adderall or something. I don't understand. But he was like on a loop. Like he just kept saying the same thing over and over. Like it didn't make sense.
I had an idea, actually. I want to run by like those little brain trusts we have right here. I've been working for a little while on like trying to like do like this panel-verse-based horror thing, right? And I have this idea.
In addition to the daily horror that already is the panel verse.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. But like more like a like the thing we watch, like Host and stuff like that. But like.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I've been working on that, but then then yesterday I had this idea while I was working on the car. Sometimes like doing things like working on a car, working on something like it inspires like it's kind of like shower thoughts, you know what I mean? You get like ideas in the shower that you would normally have. I had this idea instead to like turn it into like a more like dramedy type thing, like where like the premise would be like that, like a show like me and Jeff's would like have like a viral clip that would go like, it would be like a viral, like some clip from some old show that came viral and turned us into like minor like panel verse celebrities, and like we suddenly had to deal with like all this like attention stuff. Like they were inviting us on like we get invited on like Fox News and these bigger things as like commentators and stuff like that.
Like we would
And,
fake it. Rowan
and
could do some AI stuff.
right, yeah, and just it would start out like a one panel thing, like it would just happen on the screen, but then we'd expand
Like
it.
we would fake our own viral success.
No, it wouldn't be about faking it. It's just fictional story about like how people like us would deal with.
But I like it though. That's very meta, and then maybe we would actually go virally successful.
It might, but I just thought it was an interesting thought experiment.
And then reality would fold in on itself.
I was thinking about like what would happen if like something we did actually went like we went like me and you and like and or anybody else that kind of went viral, and then we tried to like take like people like Machine and Live and stuff like into this like.
I think we need to go viral. I think we need to go on CNN, and I think Machine Lies and me and you and Lib and whoever else get this little cast of characters and start showing them to America. Start giving like we need to show up mainstream, but in little small pieces, like a little appearance here and there in an ad, or a little appearance here on CNN briefly, like a little clip or something. And so America could start saying, who's this new crop of characters to follow?
Have you guys have you guys ever seen the TV show Reboot?
Oh, the old cartoon with like the
superhero.
Like
it's like
world.
Yeah, it's like one of the most genius like cartoons ever made, and it's basically like
I've heard it's good, but I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's the first CGI animated like show like ever made, and it was it was made by a Canadian broadcast company, so it's very innovative. It was like the first type of movie they made, like like how Ants was like a Pixar film or whatever. They had like those 3D characters. Like it was the first shit ever made like that, where it was 100% computer generated, like a video game, and the concept of the show is that these beings are like programs that live inside of a computer, and every now and then a game comes, and they and one of the people who's like the guardian of this like city that's like inside of this, I guess, computer. Like they have a motherboard, and they have viruses that try to take over like their city, and there's like these programs in the like basically everybody who's sentient inside of this computer is like a program, and they have to defend like against viruses. So like a game will come, and like there'll be hackers inside of this game, and they'll try to take over the city like through the game. So they have to play the game. And if they lose the game, like a part of the city will be taken out. Like it's very interesting concept of this fucking show, and yeah, it's like the whole show is happening inside of a computer. Yeah, yeah. Somebody said they ripped off Tron. Well, this is on another level of like like I haven't seen Tron. Like I know Tron is inside of a video game, but this is inside of a computer. So it's on like a meta level of that.
Didn't they remake Tron or tried to?
Yeah, they did a Tron sequel like years later. It was in 3D. It wasn't too bad, but yeah. But no, it sounds interesting, Machine. I have heard good things about that show for a long time. I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's very genius. I forget what like the intro was, but the intro, like like what he says in the intro is just so like it's just fascinating what he says in the intro to this like show. Like I'm trying to find like what the
We can
fucking
watch
text
it
is.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably find the episodes for it.
Because there's a whole world happening inside of this YouTube that I think.
Yeah, it's very synonymous with that.
Letting people in on. We need to start like making the circuit and going on. Maybe as like a. You're right, Chris. Instead of individual people here and there, maybe as like a little group, like a little troupe that goes on different panels or appearances and gets known as. Because people are going to be interested in following a group of people if they're tied together more than they will in random individual people. Because there's more of like you get that drama network sitcom soap opera effect.
Right. I don't know. I just suddenly, as I was working on the car, it just like, I just started thinking about like, what would happen if like, let's say like some clip from our Buck Angel interview or something like that, some little innocuous clip that we didn't really think much of, like it get clipped and suddenly it becomes this viral thing, and suddenly like, like a bunch of like these bigger YouTubers wanted to invite us on and stuff like that, and we have to deal with like, we have to deal with like this like level of like attention and fame and everything. And I just thought like, it might be an interesting idea to explore in terms of a dramatic and slightly comedic context, like, and we could start it out doing it like just through like the StreamYard type interface type thing, but then as it goes along, we could expand it and have like IRL segments and stuff of it, and try to make a show out of that. Like it'd be like a show, not like a movie. It'd be like episodes. And
okay,
like,
I found the line. It says they say the user exists outside the net and inputs games for pleasure. Nobody knows for sure, but I intend to find out. That's the intro. It's fucking Isn't that an insane line?
A reboot?
Yeah. Yeah, they say the user exists outside the net and inputs games for pleasure. Nobody knows for sure. This shit is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. I was just wondering if that's like a show you guys could watch or not.
No, I was about to say we could watch it later. I mean, it's a cartoon. It's probably short. I could check it out.
That's the show I was talking about. The show I was talking about developing.
Oh, which one?
Just the show about like the concept I just said about like if we had like this clip that went like viral.
Oh, I thought you were talking about more like promotion, how to promote the Panelverse by going on other mediums outside of the Panelverse.
Yeah,
like
this would be faking.
TV
This would be
appearances, radio spots. I don't know, other platforms, maybe TikTok, people's Instagram. I don't know what the modern platforms are that we could go on, but like taking it to the streets, taking the streets to the streets. And we talked about taking the streets to the streets and doing it the other way too. Like when you went to the liquor store.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt in the middle of this conversation, but I just noticed, do any of you guys know who Timothy Gordon is?
Timothy Gordon?
I haven't heard the name, but yeah, it sounds familiar.
He's this like super ultra trad, well, thinks he's an ultra trad Catholic guy who writes all this like basically pro red pill, pro like
he looks boring.
manosphere. Well, I'd actually covered on a live stream I did a couple weeks ago, covered this incredibly idiotic video that he had made. And now I see he is in 3 minutes going to do a part 2 live stream of the same complete idiocy. So I might have to actually dip out in a few minutes just to start trolling this clown.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. Let us know how it goes, okay?
What's his name?
Timothy Gordon.
All right, I'll look him up.
Have you ever heard of Kevin McDonald, Trad Culture?
I have. I actually saw an interview he did with Edward Dutton many years ago.
Yeah, that's an interesting figure that I'd like to debunk with you, because I think he makes some pretty erroneous points on, like, the development of society, especially Western civilization. I think he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh yeah, I read a chapter of his book where he goes on and on and on about like basically how bad anthropology is and why you should never trust anything from anthropology. I was like, okay, this is just typical butthurt, to be honest.
Cope.
Yeah, Cope, exactly.
Machine, and I guess I read all three of you too. Have any of you guys ever heard of Stuart Home?
Stuart Home, I have to say that name doesn't sound familiar.
You guys should look him up. He's a very fascinating character that kind of was. He was like loosely to the situationist and Discordianism, and he created his own like offshoot of it called Neoism back in the 80s, and like it's very meta kind of like thing. But there's some really interesting. This isn't like anything to the stream. I just think that both you, especially you, Machine, and you TCPS might find it interesting.
Yeah, I know for a fact Pill Eater would know about this.
What's that?
The Pill Eater would know about this.
Pill Eater probably would, yeah. But yeah, I think if you look up Stuart Home machine, I think you'll find some really interesting. He has a website still up, I think. I don't know if he's still live, but his
Yeah,
website.
that's one of the things on my show is that we got different resources now for people. So I'm pretty sure like a lot of like what some of the other people on my show that come by know is very different from what I know. Like I almost have no training in like modern I'm like postmodern philosophy and all that kind of stuff. But Pill Eater knows tons of stuff about that. And then Trad Culture knows tons about the social sciences that I wouldn't really begin to comprehend.
Yeah. Pill Eater is, by the way, he's one of my top 5 current favorite panelists that we've had on. I think he's great. I think he's a really intelligent guy. I had a really good conversation with him 2 times he's been on here, and I really look forward to talking about Pill Eater.
Oh yeah, I like Pill Eater. I wish he'd come on here more often. He was one of the people when I first saw him. I'm like, oh, I want him on my show.
What's your opinion on Pill Eater machine? You think he's on the level?
I think he's going.
I think he's Autism. He's on the level. I don't agree with him on everything. But
he's definitely in terms of the topics I'm covering for the next. I think we can develop 2 or 3 shows very easily. If he even has a couple hours, maybe like 6 hours, total. We could make a very interesting series on the modern state of philosophy and culture. Talking about Peter Thiel. And also about the influences of the alt-right. We were doing a breakdown of the philosophy of Mencius Moldbug recently, and some of the accelerationists and these kind of ideas. So those kind of like ideas where it's like hypermodernism, what do you call that? Cyberpunk, Yeah, that whole kind of aesthetic, that's kind of going to be the development with Pill Eaters. That is a whole acceleration of cyberpunk type of thing. That's one of the themes of the channel. So I really started that topic with Neurojack, and then Neurojack, through his many forays online, he got introduced to Pill Eater. So we're developing with him.
Good. I haven't talked to Neurojack much lately. I hope he's doing well.
He was on here on some stream like a few days ago. It seems like he seemed fine.
He was on Love's stream I think, but I saw him on there. But
he was joking in the comments the other day.
We're on a similar bend to how we were before, but I think our approach is a lot more refined at this moment. I'll tell you that.
Well, I still have tons of love for him and you, Machine. Like I think you guys are great. So.
Yeah, of course.
Frank, are you you think you're ready to go watch TV soon? I have to run to the store and then I'll be free. And then Chris and I talked about maybe doing that video game stream later and the script.
Yeah, Machine, if you want to come by and play this game with us, it's this game called Dokapon Kingdom. It's like really simple, stupid game where you get to like screw over your friends and just be like a dick to everybody in the game. It's like Mario Party, but you get to be a dick to everybody.
That's what the Panelverse needs. A family fun-friendly game.
It looks very family friendly, but like the actual things you do are not family friendly.
Family friendly, but with demons.
Yeah.
Family friendly if you were a family of demons.
Well, I came here originally to follow Traditional Culture Preservation Society over here.
He's on that Timothy Gray. You want to follow him over there?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna follow him over there, unless he gets the idea that I'm stalking him at this point.
Oh no, I think he enjoys your stalk. I think he appreciates the stalk.
Oh, okay. He's not doing a stream. He's just trolling.
Well, he's in the comments trolling, but
I might pass that because I'm not up for trolling. I really don't do that type of thing.
I miss talking to you, Machine. I really do. I really wanted to talk to you a lot lately. I just had.
Yeah, I got your back on that.
I haven't had time.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no worries. I'll keep, messaging you periodically as I do. And then one day we'll talk. But yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I've just been in the middle of like the worst car repair thing I've ever attempted. Like I'll never try it again, but trying to put the car back
yeah, I've
together right now.
heard.
I got the repair part done. Woohoo! I did the repair part. I put the new part in. I got it all connected. But now I have to figure out how to put the car back together piece by piece, and my brain is like looking at all these pieces scattered everywhere. And it's like I don't know where any of it goes.
Yeah.
It's very very.
Do you just have to
point.
work backwards? I took my microscope apart when I was a kid and couldn't get it put back together, and I never got another microscope after that. Do you is it a matter of just working backwards?
It is, but I messed up a little bit because like there were certain things that like when I was following the video, I thought it was telling me to do this one part at one part, but actually I did that part way earlier than I was supposed to. So certain things I did were out of order. So strictly going backwards doesn't necessarily help. I have to go through the videos that I used and look at them like and find like stills that I can look at like, okay, this is what it looked like at this point. And then I can copy that,
You
and
can't just find that one little part that you got out of order and then get
it's
the
not that
sequence.
easy. There aren't, unfortunately, the resources that I have don't really give me that option. But it'll work out. I feel confident that it will be back together and running within like the week. So
Okay, well, cool.
it might take me more than one attempt. I may get it back together and have to like partially redisassemble it in order to fix some things, to change things around a couple of times. But like I'll get it one way or another. So.
Okay. Well, you want to go work on that?
I mean, I don't want to, but I'm going to.
That's what I meant.
I really don't
I'm
want
the one
to.
that told you not to even try to or like seriously examine why you're trying in the first place, and if it's something you want to do.
I did it out of poverty.
Yeah, I know.
That's
It can only
why
go
I did
so
it.
far unless like you to live that kind of lifestyle as a neurodivergent person with ADHD and mental health. You have to have a certain amount of capacity and lots of good self-care to maintain that. And so long term, you might want to think about other strategies to supplement that one.
Oh, I've already fully learned my lesson about trying to do something like this in the future.
You haven't. I promise. Like you heard it here. Check the screen. May 5th, 1:06 p.m. timestamp.
No, I have never before. I have never before this point
for next week or 2 weeks from now when he's at his next project.
Point. This is. I will say this on the record. Before this point, I have never attempted anything like this, and after this point, I will never attempt anything like this again.
But you don't. The part of the problem is you don't know what's like this till you start doing it, because it all looks doable when you.
Oh no! I saw the video. I saw how complicated it was. It skipped a couple of things that would have discouraged me. But now that I know that if it's anything that involves like disassembling the dashboard of the car, I will never do that again. If it's anything beyond oil changes, fluid changes, like a Freon refill,
I just know our ability to rationalize and talk ourselves into things that seem cool, like a cool challenge.
It didn't seem like a cool challenge. It seemed like something I had to do because I couldn't afford to do it any other way.
Well, then you're going to use that same argument on something else in the future. That's why I'm never going to do it again.
I'll tell you this: if I got my disability,
because you're going to run into another situation because you're poor and poverty is a form of disability, where you're going to have some other giant project that is easier to do yourself, and you're going to.
If I got my disability money today, I would have the car towed to the Toyota dealership and say, like, put it back together for me. That no matter how much it costs. That's what I would do. That's honestly what I would do in this situation.
Well, you might as well see it through now and save some disability money.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, and the disability money could still be months out. So I'm not counting on that. But I'm saying
I'm just pointing out in another month or two when you're involved in another project, because I know how our brains work. That's what I'm going off of. I've seen this. So if you can go to any ADHD group and say this, and they're all going to say the same thing. Okay, dude. Sure. Yep. We believe it.
I do actually learn from a mistake sometimes. Sometimes I do.
Yeah, sometimes we do. A lot of times we have to. I don't think we'd be where we are today if we didn't. Like, this is the version of us that learns from their mistakes. Wait till you see the version that doesn't.
This damn version of myself right now is absolutely the peak of
Yeah.
like where I've been. Like I look at the past like versions of myself, I'm like, who the fuck? I'm like, you're a joke. Like that person's a fucking a heinous, just a complete, sack of a man. Yeah, like honestly, like I look
Heinous,
at like
heinous.
Okay, hang on. I'm writing that down. That's going to be useful for something. I'm collecting a thing of phrases and like for T-shirts and marketing. Heinous.
Well, I'm woeful that I've inspired that. That's what it is.
We gotta put merch up at some point. Like people liked the one icon that Jeff.
Yeah, we did for that stream. They did. They said absolutely that should be merch. So if there's already a market for merch, we gotta make our fans happy.
Maybe like us, You Machine, maybe a couple other channels that we like. Maybe we can all go in together into like making like one collective like merch store.
Oh, did you guys see my intro yesterday? It was fire.
Can we play here?
Yeah, I could bring it up because this intro is really.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm gonna grab a refill and come right back.
Yeah, let me see if I could find this. Well, it's got to be somewhere on my laptop, but I forgot. Yeah, it's pretty dark, to be honest. But yeah, I like it. It really fits the mood of the show, what I'm trying to portray. But yeah, it's like just a 3-minute intro that's very fascinating, based off an old commercial that was made by the Civil Liberties Union.
Is there any copyright? Is there copyright music?
None detected. Nope. Yeah, it's a very old video, so I'm sure it's part of a public record. And then I played.
Remember when you did the lesbian nuns and they shut your stream down?
Yeah.
It was
but that's a well-known video from BBC. This is just.
What's this? I'm gonna get a little peek of it real quick. Can you drop the link in the private?
Yeah, it's in there.
No, I mean the link.
Okay. Yeah, well, I think it's in that link that you put my stream. Remember?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's a bunch of old.
So it's the introduction to that video from last night.
Yeah.
All right. Let me just kind of get a sense of what this commercial is.
Yeah, it's dope. It's two parts of things. It's a commercial and also into Kaczynski's cabin. So it's two parts of videos. Oh. Yeah, so it's just made by nonprofit groups. So it's interesting.
I'm worried mostly about the music. Do you know if there's any copyright music to worry about?
No, it's just a piano. It's just a piano from like old. It's a piano loop.
Let's give this a try.
But the piano loop is very dark.
Clip it out.
Yeah, the piano loop is dark.
Oh, I like dark piano.
Yeah, it's like a Beethoven type.
Oh wait, I'm just sharing it from yours, right? Okay, hang on. Here we go.
First generation of the technological society, we have been acted upon by forces of such power that few, if any, of us can understand. Extensive information gathering on every American, human experiments with drugs, psychosurgery, electronic surveillance,
Look at his eyes.
The era of the computer, invasion of privacy,
It's
growing
retarded.
government and corporate power over our lives, a people plagued by dehumanization, loneliness, and violence. Dramatic? Perhaps. But we are losing control of our technology and our lives. Not so long ago, people in a similar situation did not awaken to the forces around them. Are we so unwise as to do the same?
Is that the criminologist from Rocky Horror?
Oh, yeah.
Enemy list. Wired death. Dead backs. Dossiers. Medical records. Social security number.
Eyeball.
Credit record.
The Illuminati's in the closet.
National security.
Oh.
Another agent, Pat Webb. Pat was an explosives agent. So we kind of opened the door just a bit to the cabin. And as we opened the door, we were both pretty much overcome as we looked across the cabin at the shelves that were built on the other side of the door. We could see coffee cans and bottles and jars, and they all had labels on them. And they were very
Cornmeal. My grandma had some of that. And the baking soda Calumet, yep, with the ending.
Chemicals. One of the things we saw was a hooded sweatshirt, that was hanging up there. The cabin smelled as if.
Man, I've been in buildings like that.
You might start to think, if you really think about this, this is a person who lived in this cabin. They had a cutaway spot in the floor to go to the bathroom in if he needed to. Had built fires in the cabin.
Wow,
That's
that
it.
was kind of cool.
That was pretty cool, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, that really was kind of cool. That was worth it. If I get a takedown, that was worth it.
I'm sure it won't. I played it last night on a much more viewed video, so I think they will.
Is the message that? And how old is that first commercial where he's like sitting in the chair as a robot?
It says it's by the New Mexico American Civil Liberties Union. So it's like old stuff from like a very long time ago.
I think so, Crystal. It's Ted's cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second part is Kaczynski's cabin. Yeah, where you can't even believe that. Yeah, actually, he modeled it after Walden. Thoreau's.
Oh,
Walden.
I didn't know that. So is the theory that these people go out into the woods to escape that feeling of being mind controlled?
Well, that's the problem, is that like he made himself look like he was an organization called Freedom Club, but when they found him, it was just him alone. So so it's not people that are doing
it.
It
would just be a YouTuber.
Yeah, it was just him. Yeah, it was just one man. So yeah, so really Kaczynski one-man army for 30 years, in an FBI manhunt, the longest FBI manhunt ever in history, because he was a genius mathematician. So just from a criminal standpoint, it's just fascinating, because he was able to elude capture because essentially he was a genius. It's kind of like the Fugitive movie or some shit.
Oh.
and because he was living such a low-tech lifestyle, he was essentially untraceable. So that is interesting, that the more we're involved with the system, the more we're held accountable by it. Kind of makes an interesting point.
I don't think that's a bad thing, as long as it doesn't get abused.
Yeah, it may not be, but one sure way to abuse it is to just be somebody that the system can't keep track of. To use that against the system itself. I
think it is good to have people that test the rules like that and break the system so that they can learn. Like I not necessarily his terrorism, but I think his mission of trying to not be tracked. I think it's good to have a few people out there trying to do that because I think it tests our system.
Yeah, it's interesting because he basically predicted the rise of mass surveillance. So in that thing, he kind of foresaw that technology would move in a direction where they would actually be collecting data on the majority of people.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me for some reason. Daniel, have they done this? Like, this sounds like a little sci-fi to me. So you said theoretically, but theoretically we could do a lot of things that we haven't been able to do yet.
Oh, well,
So
it's proven with the.
I have a hard time worrying about science fiction fears.
Well, if you go
Even
to
like
the little the ELF stuff, they put like little electrodes on your head, and yeah, people that I've asked that have done stuff like that, it's helped them stop smoking and stuff. Even so it's rewired their brain to a point where they've even stopped addictive habits. So
I don't know if that like rewiring is exactly how it works.
yeah. It could have some. I've there's clinics for it right now, and I've heard that they're effective. But also people who get in isolation tanks, they hit them with a beam.
Those are like in altered states.
Yeah, they hit them with rays and beams and stuff, and yeah, it affects them. They get you get like a low
And is
light.
the fear that people are not going to be in control of their own mind, like their thoughts are going to be at the mercy of someone else? That seems like
Well,
a very weird state.
you are an electrochemical being at one end. There's no way to deny it. You know what I mean? So can it? Can that be? Because see, the electrons. Not the electrons, but the iron in your blood, right, gets moved around by electricity, right, and the electricity is conducted through the water molecules, right, so they could actually send a low frequency wave and actually send a neuron in another direction. It's been done.
That just sounds like science fiction. That
it's
people
not.
out
It's
there
not.
try to do this.
It's not really. If you look at it like one way, like happiness and sadness and fear and calmness, like these things like have a electromagnetic frequency.
They do, but they're also
right?
filtered through a
Like
personal and cultural narrative. That
oh yeah,
determines
of course. But that stuff is conditioned over decades. You know what I mean, right? But what I'm talking about is just the immediate effect of like, okay, like you could look on a on an EKG, like whether somebody's feeling like happiness, sadness, fear, or calmness. You know what I mean, right? Basically, right? So they know like on an EKG, like what frequency that is. Now they could send an ELF wave to counteract that frequency. That it won't get rid of like the feeling or whatever, but it'll basically mask it where like a neuron is moving in one direction and they could send it back in the other direction.
It just seems sci-fi that this would be like implemented on any kind of mass scale outside of a laboratory. I can't think. I'm not worried that this is the
I've heard that they use it in. Well, I've heard that they use it in places like prisons. So I could foresee, huh?
What do they do there?
Well, I could foresee like if there's like a general like dissatisfaction among the prisoners, they'll like trip them out with like music or like a beam or something like that, or like some they psychologically manipulate them,
like the Watchmen or something. Yeah,
you could do it. No, subliminal programming is a real thing. It's been studied hardcore.
I don't think it's reliable enough to control prisoners.
I
wouldn't rely on it. If they like, oh, this is a cutting edge security prison, we rely on subliminal programming to keep our prisoners in line. I'd be like, I don't.
A lot of the stuff when you walk into a courthouse or a hospital or a a prison is subliminal programming. That's why people wear uniforms.
Well, I'm familiar with industrial psychology, but
just the uniforms are subliminal.
People's thought, like they're
look at the Stanford prison experiment. Just the fact that half of the people are wearing uniforms is going to psychologically program them. I mean, right? It's just You know, you could pick anything. You know, it's just any superficial change will drastically alter the effects of what you're experiencing. You know, it's just we pretend like these differences are benign, but they're not. You know, they're extremely.
I don't think they're that drastic. I think they're so, like, for the most part, I can direct my thoughts, and for the most part, I can
of course
choose my
you could also,
emotions and change one emotion to another.
No, of course, on a day-to-day basis you can, but I'm talking about death by 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. I don't understand how that can be calculated, like how people can measure and account for every little paper cut to make a definitive statement that this is the paper cuts that are going on. It's so invisible and subtle and beneath the surface and abstract. Like with quantum mechanics, we can like more or less measure the atoms and perceive them. So, but this kind of stuff is
I'll tell you what's more weirder than quantum mechanics that they haven't figured out. It's the last frontier of science, which is the human consciousness.
Yes, I agree. I was about to say consciousness.
Yeah, so it's way more mysterious than quantum physics.
100%. And I think we're not even just barely on the edge of that frontier. Like it'll be generations and generations before
right. But what they found out, even in their rudimentary research and behavioral programming, that it can be done and it can be carried out on a mass scale just by like television commercials.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Like,
they've looked at
humanity's going to be brainwashed from all watching the same television commercial. That's the part that seems sci-fi.
It's happened in the past.
I'd have to look into it. It just seems on the surface.
Well, you just look at a Newport cigarette commercial and you'll figure it out. I mean, it's easy to
Daniel, I was going to say earlier, we read advertising is not brainwashing though; it's just influence. But we read 1984.
Nobody said brainwashing. I was just talking about influence
when I was in school, and even then, we read them and discussed them and wrote.
Oh, hold on! I never said brainwashing.
Wait, let me finish. And even then, I thought that they were sci-fi. Like I didn't take them seriously as, oh, I'm worried this could happen. They always seem like sci-fi dystopias.
Yeah, I never talked about brainwashing. That's slippery slope.
I'm the one that used it in my example of people being brainwashed by watching television commercials. That seems like what the fear is, that people are going to be passively at the mercy.
But that's a slippery slope.
This commercial tells
Should
them.
people be allowed to influence people on a mass scale? That's a question.
Yeah, they've been allowed to do that since at least ancient Greece and the rise of rhetoric and sophistry. And before that, they did it through art and poetry.
Ancient Greece was
drama.
I mean, ancient Greece.
Yes, humans. Not only are humans allowed to influence each other, I don't think it's avoidable. I think humans do influence each other just by existing on the same planet together.
But you just said it couldn't be done at the beginning of this.
No, I'm talking about the mind control programming thing, not influence. Like we're influencing each other right now just by having a conversation. I wouldn't call this mind control.
Right. So I agree that we're being influenced on a mass scale. I agree. Sorry, Jeff.
Talking about the subtle influence that just television and cinema and stuff has always had on culture. Yeah, but how do you quantify that to isolate it, to have an actual practical conversation about?
Well, let's just dismiss all.
Everyone's going to watch different TV shows and different commercials, and they're all going to have different like influences they're exposed to. So how do you trace it in any one person?
They quantify behaviors that lead to mental, health problems. The hashtag mental health, right?
I'm talking about how do you quantify the effect that a TV commercial is going to have on any one person, and it's going to have a range of effects depending on that person. So each person that watches it is bringing their own contribution to that experience as well. It's not just a one-way passive relationship.
They don't work off of 100% expectation, 100% efficacy anyway. They look at it more like, okay, so you put an advertisement on the Super Bowl, right? You're going to reach this number of people, and there's a percentage of those people that are going to be affected by it. And like they're looking for like what's going to get the largest effect to the largest number of people. It's not about 100% effect.
Right, but that seems normal. I don't see that as anything to worry about. They're trying to sell the truck to the most amount of people. So they're trying to hit the middle of the curve, which makes sense because that's where the most buyers and profit are. But none of that sounds nefarious or villainous or sinister or prison planet or anything. It sounds like normal business, normal marketing, normal advertising.
I mean, to a degree, it is. Yeah, it is normal, I guess. I don't know if it's moral or ethical, but it's moral. But it's normal.
Well, I don't. I mean, it has commercials have never bothered me as a kid growing up.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
just
not someone
taken
who
them
can
as
either.
part of like, yeah, I enjoy my TV shows without them, but it doesn't signal to me the collapse of civilization that we have this thing called commercials that try to
Nobody
people to buy
said that. That's a
products.
slippery slope. I was just trying to establish that they influence people on a mass scale, which we agree on pretty much. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
every
and
human is influenced.
it's not like, I mean, like, there's people like us, like the people on this panel right now, that I'm guessing you're probably the same way, Machine. Like, you don't probably, you've probably never seen a commercial and been like, I have to go buy this now, even if it's not something you want. Like, if there's a product I want, it's because I want the product for like what it does or something like that. And the advertising has actually no effect on me. But some people are highly affected by advertising. Some people do have like,
Yeah, I'm not. Why do I have to worry about those people?
well, or look at
I know
or
there's
look at
plenty
Marshall
of people that.
Well, it's not about worrying or not worrying. I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think I'm just talking about mass influence and how to catalog that, and whether it
Yeah.
does affect people or not, because that's important information. When you go about your day, you go, oh, okay, hundreds of people are affected by these things, because then you get to have conversations with people, you get to catalog your experience with other people, and you see that it indeed does have an effect on them, because you see like at the time when there's a mass emergency or, some sort of global change or some sort of new product comes out or like the new iPhone or something like that, you see that it affects people or some type of commercial or, that actually it is affecting people. And
Yeah, I remember the Cabbage
and
Patch
yeah,
craze
yeah,
in the
yeah,
80s.
yeah. And the problem is that it fills people's mind with ideas of artificial needs. And so you have to understand
So
why.
is it consumerism like that? Like that's just we live in a consumerist society.
Artificial needs are not exactly consumerism. I'm just talking about the practical reality of superfluous needs, right? So
Yeah.
we have to categorize those, right, based on our own sense of pleasure and understanding, or some say the user exists outside the system and inputs games for pleasure. Nobody knows for sure.
But I don't see creating superfluous needs as any kind of issue or problem. That's just a feature of
it depends
capitalist
what those
society
needs
that we
are.
live in. It's been around ever since I was a kid.
You do think there's a problem, because some of those superfluous needs can be self-destructive.
Like what?
You don't know about any superfluous behaviors that are
Well,
self-destructive.
if you have an example, just don't make me think of your example.
Opiate addiction.
Yeah, that's a chemical need. Yes, of course. I'm not forgetting people
Okay,
addicted to
so
opiates.
it's
That's
being
not what we're
affected.
talking about here.
So
We're talking about advertising creating a need.
Advertising has created opiate addiction.
Okay, well, if we leave that extreme example out, what are some other examples that the ordinary person might be susceptible to?
Well, no. I'd like to say that I've made a point.
That people are getting addicted to opiates because they see a TV commercial and then they go to their doctor and say, "I want that."
No, that wasn't the original point. The original point was about superfluous needs and problems, right? That superfluous needs can be destructive.
I'm thinking like a Jell-O pudding pop or something. Like I'm not going to want one, but I see a commercial.
Right. If you eat tons of Jell-O pudding pops, you'll destroy yourself, right?
Yeah, but that's different than a commercial. Like getting one that afternoon because I saw a commercial. That's gluttony. That's obesity. That's a mental health or health issue separate from the majority of Americans being able to eat a pudding pop and not have that issue. So you're tying a totally different issue.
That's not the majority of America. Yeah. See, the thing is that when I I live here in Detroit, right? I could walk 20 miles and there's nothing but fucking junk for sale for kids to eat. There's not even a fucking grocery store. There's liquor stores and shit. And so when these kids see these commercials, these fat little black kids, it's affecting them. I see that it's affecting them. It's ruining their fucking life.
So that's what this is about, like
Well,
getting
well,
people
well.
to
I'm
eat
just, I'm just
healthy.
giving an example of how it's ruined some people's lives. I mean, I'm going to be honest about it.
If
Right?
if people's health are ruined because they watch a commercial, I would say that person has more problems than just their physical health from watching that commercial. Because
No,
most
the
people, I'm
problem is
talking about
food.
most Americans that I can relate to, their health is not impacted
Well, I'm
from
sorry
watching
you
a
can't
single
relate to the
commercial.
poor
It's
black
not
person
going
in
to
Detroit.
crater their entire health if they watch one
I'm
Jello
sorry.
cup.
I'm sorry you can't relate
That
to a
is
poor
not a
black
normal
person in
kid.
Detroit.
There's something going on there way
but
more than
they're
just them
affected. Their
watching a
kids are being
commercial,
affected by the TV commercials.
but not to the extreme that you're trying to portray.
Oh yes, they are.
This has been a
These little
conversation
kids,
that's been going on ever since I've been a
these
kid
little
about
kids,
like,
these little kids are obese from eating junk food that they saw
yeah,
on TV
they
commercials.
had cereal commercials growing up. They had candy commercials that we were exposed to all of that too.
Right.
And
And
each
it's
individual
harmful.
kid could decide how much candy to
And the
eat, or
collective
each
effect
parent.
and the collective effect of the McDonald's and the commercials is negative.
Maybe it's not
Negative.
something I worry. I'm not going to spend my energy worrying about it.
Maybe
I
not.
have
Maybe not.
way more things to
Just
be
because
concerned about.
you don't care about it doesn't mean it's not a negative effect, a net negative effect.
No, I don't think it's net negative. I think it can affect some people negatively, some people neutrally, and some people probably positively.
Well, I'll tell you what it's doing to the poor. It's
So
affecting
to
them
doom
negatively.
and gloom that it's having this outsized effect on this one group and it's negative just seems like fear mongering and moral panic to me. Seems like hysteria.
Well, that's a little extreme. Hundreds of people have complained about that them
Well,
selling
I
superfluous
don't
food.
eat, I haven't eaten McDonald's in decades. Like, no commercial is
You
going to
really
make me
think
eat McDonald's.
that
Like, people have the choice to not eat McDonald's. I don't feel sorry for them that there's anything I have to do to stop people from eating, grown people from eating McDonald's.
There isn't anything you have to do, but the fact of the matter is that in
It's bad for you.
People, in certain situations, if they don't have access,
I don't make other. It's not my health. I don't make other people's decisions for them. Y'all don't want vaccine companies telling you to take the vax. Stop telling other people what food they have to eat. It goes both ways.
You're the one telling people what food they have to eat because they're inundated with commercials and they don't have a choice.
I don't care. I could care less.
They don't have a choice, and you don't care
never
about
told
it. That's
people
the
what to eat.
problem. Is that you don't care about the worst people in society
I don't
who
care
have the
what-
most common
what-
needs.
what
Right.
food people choose to
It's
put in
because
their
you don't have
body.
empathy for the poor. That's a
Guess
separate
that must
issue.
be it. That
Yeah,
must
that's a
be it.
separate issue.
I grew up poor. I am poor, but I have no empathy for them. That's got to be it.
Well, you're the one who said you don't
Your
care.
analysis is
You're the one who said you don't
is
care
flawed.
about. You're the one who said you don't care about kids who don't. Have
I
a choice
don't
but
know.
to eat
I said
in a
I don't
food desert.
care what people eat, what food people eat. I don't care if people eat McDonald's.
Right. But you don't care if
And
they
if
don't have a
that
choice.
makes me a person with no
Do you
empathy
care
who
if they
doesn't
have a
care
choice
about
or
the
not?
poor, then
Do you
so
care?
be it.
Do you
I think
care
that's
for
a fringe position. I think
Jeff,
most people,
Jeff,
when you tell them you don't eat McDonald's, are not going to jump to that conclusion.
Jeff, do you care if poor people have a choice on what to eat? If they have good choices on what to eat? Do you care?
I don't care about it to the extent that it keeps me up at night because I come from poor people.
You don't care about
I know
it,
the
therefore you don't
choices
have
they
empathy.
have. I know the choices they can find and create for themselves. I am not worried. That is something I can check off my box of things to worry
You don't
about
care.
society.
You don't care about it. You don't care about the suffering of the poor. You just said it. That's fine. You just said it.
I'm
Like,
glad
dude,
this is
what
all
the
on
fuck do you want
stream
me to
so
say?
people can see
That's
what I
you said.
actually said and then your version of what I said so they can compare them.
All right. Okay. I'm happy that they'll do that, because that is what just came out of your mouth. You said you check it off your box. You don't
came
care
out of
about it.
mouth is not what I came. Now you're making yourself look foolish. I don't know why you're doing this.
Well, I don't know. You simply
Because
said
what
that.
you said, I said is not what I said.
Well,
so
I asked you a direct question.
That's not what he said.
I asked you a direct
So I don't
question.
know why you want to dig in on the position that
Well, maybe I'll ask you it again. Do you care if poor people don't have a choice of what to eat or not? Do you care?
Poor people have choices.
No. I'm asking you a question. Do you care if poor people have a choice on what to eat or not? Last time you said, I don't care. I'll check it off my box. And then you pretended like I didn't hear you. Now what do you say?
I don't care what poor people eat or there are plenty of resources for.
All right. So now
I don't care about the diets of the poor at all. I don't think about it. I don't care about it. I'm not emotionally moved by it. Every poor person I know can figure out what to eat and choose their food. I don't think it's something I need to worry about.
Well, there we go.
Well, I mean,
that is what you said. You said it twice.
In the area you live in, like you live pretty close to the grocery stores and stuff, don't you?
Me or machine?
You.
I'm in a food desert. The nearest grocery store is a mile away. I eat out of the convenience store.
Okay. Well, I mean that's not good
And
either.
by choice, I could go get better food every day if I wanted to. I'm lazy, and it's shorter for me to walk to the convenience store than the grocery store. So that is a choice I am making as an adult.
In order for me and Lindsay to go to a decent grocery store to get food, if we don't have a car, there's pretty much nowhere to get there. We can get to Walmart, and we can get to lots
And
of
they
fast food
deliver
places.
now. Stores deliver.
Yeah, well, for a fee.
I don't have sympathy for victimhood mentality where I can go look at the same problem and find all these things people could be doing to take control of the situation for themselves. Like, I respect that more than I do people whining about all the reasons they can't do something because of influence of other people. You can override all that yourself and take control of your own situation. That's what self-determining autonomous adults do. That's my whole like program that I'm trying to model and help people do.
My
So all
example
these
was
narratives
obese.
of I can't do this, I live too far for this,
My
I watched
example,
the TV
my example
commercial,
was
and now I'm fat. I don't have sympathy for those narratives at all.
my example was an obese child living in a food desert.
That got fat and ruined his health because he watched the TV commercial.
Oh my God!
It's on the stream.
Gentlemen,
You said
can we
that
not
it
all
was
recognize that we are all on the same side here?
no.
We can respect
Clearly,
each other's
We're
differences of
practicing for our
opinion.
no. I
CNN
care. No, I
here.
care about the suffering of the poor.
I do too.
I care about people suffering
I'm one of
to
them.
the extent
I'm one of the poor.
I care about people suffering to the extent that they don't have the own agency to mitigate their suffering.
Right, but the example you gave was an adult who's in control of the situation, and the example I gave was an obese
Yeah, if they
child
want to
living
eat
in a food desert.
McDonald's, I do not care. I don't care if adults are eating McDonald's. Most people I know don't care.
I said an obese child living in a food desert.
No, you asked you had the
And
McDonald's.
to be fair, these
That's
days,
the
a
example
poor
I gave at the
family can't
beginning.
afford to eat
You
at
keep
McDonald's
changing it to adult. You keep changing
Well,
it
no,
to free
you've
adult.
used several examples, so I'm not going to get caught up on which.
No, you keep changing it to free adult whenever it's convenient for you.
Machine, I'm getting frustrated with this conversation because it's not in good faith. If you,
You
go
can-
back
you
and watch
can-
the
you can
stream,
change-
you're not being
you can
fair
change
right
the
now
conversation.
about
You
what you're
pretended like-
doing and the examples you're introducing, and you're not being fair what I'm saying.
You
So I
pretended
don't
like
know
you didn't say
what's going
something,
on with
and
you
then
right now, but if you watch the stream, you'll see that I'm right.
all right, Jeff, the dishonesty is real. You pretended like you didn't say something, and then I asked you the question again, and you repeated it. It was amazing, but all right.
Well, fortunately, the viewers can figure it out for themselves when they watch the
Okay,
stream.
all right.
It's not a conversation we need to continue to have. If you
Yeah, we
feel
don't
like
have
I'm
to continue.
dishonest, I invite you to go.
Yeah, you look
associate
like
with
you're getting
more honest
riled up.
people.
I don't have to continue the conversation if you're too emotional to
Yeah,
have
if you
it.
think I'm dishonest, you should go hang out with more honest people. Don't waste your time slumming
No, I
here.
think you're just getting
liar.
emotional. I think you're just getting emotional.
Well, you just accused me of being dishonest, where the stream clearly shows
Right,
that
and
I'm
now
right.
you're kind of
So
spurting out on me. I don't really understand it.
Well,
You're getting a
don't
little emotional.
gaslight and accuse someone of dishonesty and then say, "Oh, you're getting worked up there."
Well, because you
having
said
a
you didn't
I
say
just
something.
accused you of dishonesty, but you're having a
I
reaction.
asked you a
there,
question.
dude.
I asked
Come
you a
on,
question.
Machine. You're better than that. I'm taking you off now. Bye. So, since I'm the host and I can't step away, I have to step other people away from me. And that's why people get taken off the panel. If I were on someone else's panel, I could just leave and walk away like I preach.
You can drop yourself down, but that's not a big deal. You shouldn't have to do that.
I'm not going to drop myself down off of my own stream and leave it at the mercy of people that are calling me dishonest that I'm in the middle of a conflict with.
I think it was a miscommunication. Is honestly what
It obviously was. I kept saying that. I kept saying watch the stream. I kept saying the stream is going to back up what I'm saying. I was the one that was trying to restore some sanity and reality to the conversation. And now people are like, as usual, they fight me over it. Thankfully, intelligent people can watch the stream and see the frustration that I'm dealing with. And if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, contact me, tell me, look, you missed this part.
I was trying to
He didn't say this. You thought he said this. Tell me. This is why I like having it captured on the stream. I can learn from this. If I'm wrong, I want to learn from this.
To be fair,
And
I was
yes,
trying to step in and
communication
moderate.
breakdowns
I was trying to
frustrate me,
explain.
and they do work me up because this is life as an autistic person. This is what we go through all the time. And I try to find people that can be supportive when it happens and not make it worse.
I was actually going to support both of you. I was actually trying to jump in and try to say and try to explain where the breakdown was.
Does this resonate with you what Daniel's saying here? Because I get accused of a lot by Cult of Culture. Daniel, he said the other day, he said I wasn't accountable for something I did, but he never said what that thing was. And Denizen, about how I shut down conversation because it's too psychologically or emotionally uncomfortable for me. And so that's what drives my censorship, not the panel concerns that I try to pass it off as. There's like a personal psychological motive that I can't face that's causing me to do this.
The problem was simply like the words you were using to explain your position. I understand your position entirely, and I think it's fine. But the words that you used did make it sound like you were saying, "I don't care about poor people." If you don't listen to it with like all the
I don't think that any intelligent person that listens carefully to my words is going to think that that's what I was saying. I'm confident that that's not what most people are going to think I was saying. I don't think I have to capitulate to the fringe extremists that are going to interpret it in that light.
But there is a difference between listening to it in retrospect and being in the conversation in the moment. And sometimes when people are in the conversation in the moment, they hyperfixate on certain aspects, certain words, and like they get caught up on that instead of looking at the full context.
Right.
Because
that's
you're in
what
the moment.
Like to me. He was latching on to me being this cartoon villain that doesn't care about the poor, and he wasn't listening to what I was actually saying.
And for what it's worth, I think you were both acting.
And then he said I was dishonest. Like he said I flat out lied. Like what I said I didn't say. Which again, the stream can clear up for anybody.
And I think he was being in good faith when he said that. I think he felt that way. I don't think he was right. I was trying to explain.
How is honesty something you feel, or is it something you can demonstrate and perceive by comparing two things together and seeing which one corresponds to reality? What's this feeling? It doesn't feel honest to me.
The truth is objective, but
I take accusations like dishonesty, racism, all that bullshit that people try to use to demonize other people with. I take that seriously. So if someone's going to paint me as a racist or paint me as dishonest, that changes the relationship between us until we get that worked out.
Me too. What I'm trying to say is that in the midst of the heated conversation, when it comes
Daniel, hang on, I'm interrupting you, Chris, to make a point about the interrupting. If interrupting bothers you, you're on the wrong stream. That's not going to change here. Everybody cuts off everybody. I come from a culture that uses that cooperative overlapping where we have multiple conversations going on at once. So we cut in and out. So I take that as like, you don't like people from my culture or you don't like autistic people. It's like a neurotypical standard that we're being held to, and it's just not going to happen here. So you're just going to have to deal with that or find another stream.
And I appreciate what you're saying, Daniel. However, you underestimate my loyalty.
The gaslighting part was when he was trying to accuse me of getting upset after being called dishonest. Like he provoked a react and then tried to downplay his participation in that reaction, and like I was being neurotic or something, needlessly neurotic.
You were both being very emotional. You're both.
I'm an emotional person. I've never.
Yeah, I know you are.
I don't mind being. I don't.
That's a normal state of being for you. You're a naturally emotional person. Yeah.
So if people's emotionality if emotionality puts them off, then I'm just the wrong person.
The machine was also in an emotional state, and it's fine. I mean, like there's something about it. There's nothing wrong with the debate.
I do not think for a second Machine came up here with any negative intent at all. I don't even think after the communication breakdown that he had.
No, it was good faith. It was good faith.
I still don't think he has negative intent.
No, I believe he was being 100% good faith. I think that he you're
Well,
both emotional. You're both like emotions are fucked up things that cloud your
they don't
logic.
have to be fucked up things. They're completely normal parts of
Yes,
being
they're
human.
good
And
things.
the part about letting them get out of hand, they're my emotions. I will determine when they're out of hand for me. If they're out of hand for you, fine. But they're not out of hand for me. I can go way higher than this. This is just getting started.
Yeah, no,
So
no.
let me manage my own emotions and you worry about yours. That's the adult thing to do.
I think King Phillips is being very, very good and objective at describing what he said. He said, from what I saw, the machine saw the frustration building and persuaded or pursued to escalate, and it went from debate to criticism. I think he's actually being very accurate there. But at the same time, I don't think Machine was being in the slightest bit dishonest or bad faith. I think that from his perspective, what he heard, because I can look at it.
If it continue because of my emotions, that's because of you. You can't continue it because you have a problem with my emotions. I can continue it and be as emotional as I want to be and still have a conversation. I've always had that ability.
You did drop it. You did kick him off, though.
I kicked him off for calling me dishonest, not for not being able to have a conversation because of me being emotional. And that's also on the stream. I said that on the stream. People can go back and watch the reason I kicked him off.
Yes, I agree. And I agree with your right to do that. It's your stream, and you have the right to do that.
And I brought the culture thing up to make a point about the interrupting. If you go to South Louisiana and you have a problem with people interrupting, you are not going to have a good time. And so people that bring an expectation to me or to any Cajun, I would say, that they're not going to interrupt, they just don't understand that culture and those cultural norms. And that also applies to things like autism and neurodivergent. We don't work off of neurotypical norm. I have run plenty of autism groups and autism meetings, and we interrupt each other all the fucking time, and it's fine. So if interruption is a thing for you, I can't meet your standard of it here. And I've made that clear over and over and over. So people keep trying to introduce a norm or standard here that I've already made clear is not going to be accepted as a normal standard.
Busker's backing you up right there. Busker's backing you up in that statement right there. And he's right. Southwest Louisianans are accepted like that. I know.
So he's saying that was grasping at straws, but I brought up the culture stuff for a very specific reason. If you don't trust me, if you don't think I'm in good faith, if you don't trust my motives for doing this, then I just invite you to go find another stream. But you're absolutely, whatever your interpretation is right now of me is wrong. If you care about reality at all, I'm trying to give you the reality from my end. Punjabi Rage. No. Is that a movie? Or are you talking about like just Punjabi?
No, he's talking about himself. He's saying, have you ever seen him
Machine? Yeah, Machine and I have gone at it before. We're very volatile. So this is nothing new for us.
Yeah, I don't think it was grasping at straws, really. I do think that Machine, I just want you to know, I think I love for you, man. I know Jeff feels the same way.
Yeah,
this is absolutely not anything.
This is normal. This is like the price of admission for me, for being.
You're one of my favorite people in the panelverse, and trust me, like there is nothing that Machine could do except for like if Machine came on and started doing this shit where like they start going after family members or something like that. That's the only thing he could do where I would like stop associating Machine. Like he can come after me and
even then, I don't think I would stop associating. I would just get him off the panel for that day.
Yeah, if he started doing it constantly, though, I mean, like, you know what I mean? If he became one of those people that started like derogatorily insult like family members and stuff like that, then I wouldn't have tolerated that.
He's had it done.
As far as I'm concerned, like it's me. I'm putting myself on the panel. You're welcome to call me all the names you want. You can fucking call me anything, any fucking name in the book. I don't care. Like, go for it. Call me the dumbest fucking insult you can do. But you say like that, you say even like a mild insult about my daughter or my wife or something like that, I'm fucking done. Like you get like two warnings.
I'm the same way. I can handle it. You could throw anything you want at me. Dude, somebody I care about, you better not touch an eyebrow.
Especially if they're not including themselves in the stream. If they're on the stream or something like that, that's one thing. But if they're not on the stream, they're not trying to be part of the stream, and like somebody goes after them, like those that shall not be named. If that happens, then like I have no use for you. You are 100%. You're 100% outside of my purview. You don't exist to me anymore, basically. And Machine's never done anything even close to that. And that shit's been done to him a lot. So I know that he's not like that. So like I love you, Machine. We're about to wrap up anyway, so it's not like you didn't like miss out on much.
We're fine. I've already moved on. This is normal for our conversation patterns.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean anything to me.
And this is really like this is mental health month. I think this is a good example of how mental health works in the panel sphere.
we're all like raw and sensitive, and we're not normal. We're not in normal states often.
No, we're not. This is mental health in the panelverse. This is the reason. This was kind of the inspiration behind like what I was talking about, like making like a show that was more about like it's more like a dramedy about this. Because I was trying to think of like the people that are in our chat, the people that other people that like do. I was thinking of people like Andrew Wilson and other panelverse type people, like
He's another one that can't get through a conversation with me. I push his button so hard for some reason.
I mean, people that get that making about them suddenly the profile is being raised to the degree of more like a national recognition type thing, and how people like us would deal with that kind of like pressure. And
I just get frustrated because I'm so meticulous about my words and listen to other people, and I feel like I track conversations pretty well. And then when the communication breaks down, I can usually find the little parts where it broke down, and I try to communicate that, and I get painted as something I'm not, or something I'm trying to do something I'm not trying to do. And I don't understand why the other person can't get back to the point of the conversation and just get back on track. It turns into something else. Like, so once it actually breaks down, I can see the conversation and how it got off track, but I can't get the other person to get back to that point because it's already breaking down to the point where they see me as an adversary.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't think it's really happened with Machine. I think it usually got just a little heated, but it's not a big deal.
Some of it did, because he kept saying I said stuff that I didn't say, and that was part of what it was like. It added some noise into the conversation loop, and I was trying to get the noise out of it and get back to the signal.
I see what you said, that he interpreted that way, but he wasn't interpreting it the way you meant it, and that's what the breaking communication was.
Yeah, and then he said the interpretation was something I actually said. He didn't say it was interpretation. He said I said that, and I knew for a fact I did not literally say that thing, and so that threw it off another level after that, and it just kept going. This is common with like neurodivergent people when we.
It's kind of like the dog whistle thing where people say that, like, you know, like I don't know, like let's just say, as a broad example, like Trump says something fairly innocuous, but then the media is like, this is clearly a dog whistle for white supremacists, right?
Yeah.
And he says something that doesn't have anything to do with white supremacy or anything like that, but they use it as like this, like, oh, clearly he's dog whistling. It's kind of like that kind of thing. It's kind of like people infer things from what you say, and they take that as being a definitive statement about this thing, and it's kind of ridiculous. And I don't think Machine was doing that really. And I'm thinking that's an extreme example of that kind of thing where, like,
I mean, it's ridiculous that anybody could think I don't care about poor people. I come from poor people. My whole family was poor growing up. I am poor myself, and I work with poor people. I spent the last 8 years working with and helping poor people. So to think that I don't care about the poor just seems ridiculous from any, like, even a stranger that's barely acquainted with me. To think that would be weird, much less somebody that knows me. So it seemed disingenuous to like press the point that I don't care about the poor. just because I don't care if they eat at McDonald's. Like, that's a big leap from people not caring where someone eats to not caring about this whole population of people.
Right. Yeah, no, and I kept trying to say before that poor people aren't eating at McDonald's these days anyway. McDonald's
I
has
haven't
gotten
eaten
so
McDonald's.
much.
I can't even eat McDonald's. There's a
I
certain.
can't afford to
It's
eat
not that it
McDonald's.
tastes bad, and it's not even that I get sick. There's just a certain something in it that I get this
Dude, like seriously,
distinct
McDonald's.
feeling after eating that I know that came from McDonald's because the way my body is feeling right
If I were
now.
to go to McDonald's and buy a meal for me, my wife, and my 2 kids, right? If I were to buy those 4 meals, it would cost equally as much for me to go to Applebee's or Chili's or any other
You can
kind of
get the
system
bourbon
restaurant
burger.
that has where you would get like way better food. McDonald's is not cheap anymore. McDonald's used to be cheap, and it's not.
No, Daniel, I did say this. I do believe this about victimhood mentality. I never said poverty is a choice ever, 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 ever. As someone that comes from poverty, never did I say that. So correct that record, please. And I was speaking of victimhood mentality in general, separate from the poverty issue. I don't have sympathy for victims in general, whether they're poor victims, middle class victims, rich victims. So my critiques were addressed to the mentality of victimhood, not necessarily all poor people.
I haven't looked back on the stream. Maybe he said something similar to those words, Daniel. Maybe it's similar to those words, but I know Jeff. Okay, look,
Hey,
I know Jeff really well, Daniel. I tell you, I talk to Jeff on a regular basis outside the stream and on the stream. I know him. I've known him for over a year now. I know him really well, and I can tell you for a fact that he does not think that way. Okay, so even if something similar to those words came out of his mouth, that's not what he meant by it. So I'm just letting you know. Like, I'm telling you, I know somebody's heart. I can tell you like what's in their heart. And like, just because somebody misspeaks sometimes, maybe says like the wrong.
I didn't
word.
misspeak. I honestly don't care where poor people eat, or what kind of food choices they have, or if they eat at McDonald's.
But you didn't say poverty is a choice, and
I don't think there's anything wrong with that position. I think it's a normal mainstream position. I think if you ask people on the street, do you care if poor people eat at McDonald's? Most of them are going to say, no, I don't give a fuck. I don't even think about that.
No,
it's like a manufactured issue where he tries to manufacture a choice, and then if I make a certain choice, I get painted a certain way. And I think the whole setup is disingenuous from the start.
But you didn't say poverty is a choice, did you?
No, I never. I don't know where that came from. And if you have me on stream saying that, I want to see it because I seriously need to get
what
myself.
I was saying is that if those words came out of your mouth, they were in a different context than what it's been.
I'm trying to think of a context where I would even say that poverty is a choice.
I mean, I'm not going to go back and look at it right now, but I'll go back and look at it later, and we'll see.
I might have said something like suffering, like if people suffering, that they might be a choice, and there's things they could do to minimize their suffering. I might have said something like that, but I never said poverty.
Oh, dude! Oh my God! I almost forgot. I was gonna email you. I was gonna DM you this video I watched last night. I think it was 99% of it was like fictional. It was like this person's like fiction type thing, but it's the most hilarious fucking thread about like this person who was like especially in a Portland. I wish Liv was here. I'd love to tell him about it. It's actually a pretty leftist YouTuber that made this video about about what they call the Portland polycule from hell, and like this person.
Public Bill.
It was the Portland polycule from hell is the name of the video.
Polycule. Oh.
and this video is like half an hour long, but it's just her reading the Tumblr and Reddit posts. But dear God, it is hilarious. Like when you see the levels of privilege that certain people have. Like I mean, who knows how much of it's real or if it's fake.
I found it.
But it's so funny. It's so worth watching. I'll send it to you whenever I get up the line here.
I think I found it.
You found the Portland Polycule from hell thing?
Is it Strange Eons?
Yeah, Strange Eons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch that video, dude. That video is it's just her reading the responses and stuff like that, but it is so funny. Like
Yeah, I'll
me
put the-
and Lindsay both like bust out like out loud laughing like more than 4 or 5 times because of like the because we couldn't tell if it was trolling or not. Because like on one hand we're like, well, this sounds like trolling. On the other hand, this also sounds like it could be a real thing in Portland.
Yeah. Well,
It's got the-
Portlandia is that's reality TV, right? That's documentary television at its finest.
Oh man, I love.
Because that
I
is
love Portland.
exact. When I talk about the people up here, watch Portland. That is exactly how they act. It is not even comedy. Like if you go into any of these businesses in the neighborhood I lived in, that is their normal way of acting. Like Portlandia is drawn from real life.
And the fucked up thing, whenever Portlandia first came on, I remember watching that first episode of Portlandia and thinking like, I like to live in Portland. Portland sounds nice. And then the more the show went on, I was like, oh, okay, if this is what Portland's like, then maybe I don't want to live there.
Yeah. You could go get a job at the feminist
I'm an
bookstore.
alternative type. I'm a weirdo myself. So like a city full of weirdos, like the Portlandia portrays Portland as a place that's whose mayor is Cal McLaughlin. Granted, I know that Cal McLaughlin isn't really the mayor there, but if that was anything close to the actual mayor there, I'm thinking like that sounds nice. And then like the more the show went on, I was like, maybe I don't want to live in Portland.
Yeah, I know.
And then all the things that have happened since then in real news, like made me really not want to live there. But
Oh, I'm scared to even drive through it.
we have Austin down here anyway. We have the South.
Oh
Portland.
yeah, that's right. You do. Y'all have Austin.
We have the South
That's
Portland,
kidding.
so we don't even need Portland. We can just move to Austin and go to the Portland, the southern experience, the southern equivalent of Portland, which is Austin.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything racial. I didn't take anything racial from what he said. I thought he was trying to like set me up so he could indict me for not caring about poor people in general, not necessarily black poor people.
I don't think he's trying to set you up. I think he was being good faith.
Maybe at some point, but to think that I don't care about the poor and that I'm dishonest is not good faith to me. Like somebody that knows me as well as he does, I don't take that as good faith. It's hard for me to interpret that as good faith.
Fair enough. I
also am over it. It doesn't matter. Like I'm probably not even going to remember it next time I see him. So it's not anything that's going to stay with me.
Well, we're at 2 hours, so we can go ahead and shut down, and you can go watch Survivor with Frank or whatever.
Well, he didn't, Daniel. He didn't. If that's what he was doing, he didn't phrase it as how I sounded. He phrased it as I actually am, because I said that I am this thing. Not how it came across or sounded. Oh, TML was on here, Machine Lies. And we got into a conversation on poor people eating at McDonald's. Like if you watch a TV commercial and you go eat at McDonald's, you could turn out fat. And it's a way that society influences people's choices. And poor people have less choices. And it got from that to I don't care about poor people. And I said, I don't care where poor people eat. I don't care if people eat at McDonald's. It's not a society-wide issue that I'm going to worry about. I don't think it's a crisis. And he tried to go from there to then I don't care about poor people. I don't care about the poor. I don't care about the suffering of the poor. And it's all on stream. Like people are going to be able to see who said
And to be
what.
fair, Moose, it's and like this, the discussion was kind of pointless to agree anyway, because like if you're poor and you're on food stamps, you can't eat McDonald's anyway. You're eating.
You can't get fried chicken.
Like,
they have the fried chicken rule.
You're eating Kraft macaroni and cheese dinner.
But we grew up poor. That's what we lived on. Like I know that's what poor people eat. Like I know what we can afford. Top ramen, cereal and milk, macaroni and cheese, Vienna sausage, potted meat sandwiches. Jello, Kool-Aid that you can freeze to make popsicles. Like, I know the level of powdered dry milk, government cheese. So yeah, I know the options that the poor people have.
Okay,
And
and
what
that's fair. Okay, what Machine just said was very fair. He said, but Detroit, specifically where he lives, and Detroit is a much different situation what we have in Texas and Seattle.
Yeah, but not in Louisiana. Not in New Orleans. I've come from like to compare poverty. Like I come from a place more poor than you are.
Have you seen pictures from Detroit, dude?
Is that what we're doing? Like, Machine has the most credibility because he currently lives in a place that's more impoverished than South Louisiana or New York. Is
Seriously,
that what we're
dude,
doing? Like,
is
that what you're trying to do here?
They
Is
actually
that
shoot exterior.
I understand poverty a slightly less because he lives in Detroit, and that gives him an extra layer of insight into poverty that somehow me, even though he didn't grow up in Detroit, missed growing up in poverty for decades and decades, and then living in New Orleans, living in Vegas. I've worked in Seattle with that population, the poor and the homeless, but somehow he lives in Detroit gives him the edge.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, I can say for certain that Detroit, like downtown Detroit, they use it as exteriors for the Walking Dead series. Just like they take regular shots of Detroit, non CGI, and they just like show those exteriors. It's like this is what post-apocalyptic Earth looks like. Detroit is a goddamn wasteland. It's not a good place. There are good places in Detroit, but there are places in Detroit that are just like crumbling metropolises that look like they were hit a nuclear bomb. And so like I'm just saying, like take that into account with Machine what he's living through and what he lives in. And but
I don't know what any of that has to do with me not caring who eats a McDonald's. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that he's in Detroit doesn't change my position on McDonald's or advertising or what poor people eat. Is there something special about Detroit that's going to make me understand those issues in a different way? And
maybe I should do a Google Earth VR thing like we did the other day. I should zoom in into Detroit and like zoom through the city, and we can see what it really looks like.
I mean, I like 8 Mile. It's one of the movie. It was one of my favorite movies.
Detroit is honestly like when I actually did that a long time ago. I actually went through the Google Earth VR thing. I looked at Detroit, and I zoomed in on it, and I was like, "What? This is what it looks like in Detroit?" I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that Detroit looked like that. Not in real life. Like it is insane. It looks like a nuclear bomb got dropped in the place. It is insane.
That's what the parts of Seattle look like, dude. 2020. It looked like a post-apocalyptic nuclear like video game setting.
Maybe for the lower level buildings, but I'm talking about like the skyscrapers were torn down to nothing but.
I understand what you're saying. I really do. I'm trying to tie it into what the fuck this has to do with McDonald's and poor people eating McDonald's and stuff. Or is it just a tangent about how cool Detroit is as a post-apocalyptic setting?
St. Louis is the same. If you go to St. Louis, you'll see the same thing, Chris.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
I haven't been in St. Louis in a long time, so I have driven like once or twice.
I was born and raised there. It's turned into a giant apocalyptic mess.
And you know what, Chuck? I have the same exact shower curtain as you.
That's not a shower curtain.
That's fucking weird. Well, I have a shower curtain that looks just like your curtain.
Well, it's Amazon special to match the wall.
I got it at Target, but I got a shower curtain that looks just like yours at Target. So.
Only ones you could find to match the red paint that was on the fireplace wall. I don't argue. I just put them up.
I'm a
So what
little
about-
bit. I'm a little bit drunk. So
I
Are you
gathered
really? I
that.
didn't know that.
You,
Are
I
you
picked
gonna-
that up right away.
you still gonna try to do your
I
car?
took a shot about an hour ago. So I'm.
Are
a
you
little
still
bit
gonna
drunk.
try to do your car later?
Yeah, I kind of have to before I do my car because it's so hot outside that if I don't, it's unbearable.
Are you saying you're not going to be sober when you try to put this car back together?
I'm saying I'm really good at being sober. I'm really good at being drunk. That's what I'm saying. I can look at the
Okay, this
the
is what
diagram.
this is all I want to know. Are we going to have you on stream in the next day or two with some additional drama that could have been avoided if you had done it sober? Are you contributing additional headache
Well,
and risk to this
my
project?
personal intention right now is to wait until like it's 4 right now in my time it's 4:30. My intention is to wait until 5:30 to start working on the car, which means I will be sober by then. So,
What if you just passed out and worked on it tomorrow? Yeah, I agree, Frank. For once.
yeah, you guys go watch
This is
Survivor.
Sunday. Just take. You don't need your car tomorrow. Just take Sunday off. Enjoy your Sunday tea. Relax. Maybe go stream a video game, and then approach it with a fresh, sober mind in the morning. That way, you're going to minimize the ADHD tax that's going to be increased if you try to do it right now in the state you're in.
Probably. I'll take one little shot of mezcal.
Okay. All right. Well,
But
we'll see.
it's affects me pretty
Yeah,
hard.
he's drunk and he's trying to go work on his card. I'm trying to talk him into sleeping it off and working on it tomorrow because he's already worried that he's not going to get it put back together to begin with. It's already like this daunting challenge, and now he's going to try to do it less sober.
I tell you what, later when I go to look at the car, I'm going to look at the car. I'm going to do a short stream. You guys can check it out later, and you can see what the car looks like right now. I want you to see what it looks like right now because it is.
You're going to do that on your channel? You're going to set up a before
Yeah, I'll put it on my
stream?
channel.
Okay.
I'll put it through my channel so you guys can see. It'll be a short stream, it'll be like 30-40 seconds. So you can see what the interior of a Prius at Ventura Park looks like. Because
I
you
hear
would
you,
not
sir.
believe.
I think it's more
You
than a
would
shot.
not believe what it looks like. You would think there's no way that anything could look like that. It looks like an apocalypse. It looks like a nuclear bomb went off inside the car. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But
You like the blurry Chris better? Okay, so this is blurry Chris. That's what you want, Frank? You want blurry Chris? Fuck you, dude. I'm not that bad looking.
He wants chesties and boobs from me, and
now.
he wants more
Come on
blur
now.
from you.
Like I've got a little bit of chesties here. Is that what you want? Is that what you want? You want more chesties? Come on.
Come on. We can close them out
Come
with
on.
some chesties. All right. I definitely consider like putting your head down for a little while and maybe closing your eyes a bit before you do anything.
I probably will because right now it's hot as shit outside. So and the temperature's dropping right now. It's gonna rain later. So.
Okay. And I need to run to the store, and then I'm going to join Frank for Survivor. I'm older.
I might join you too. Just stop in. So.
Sure. We're it's starting to wind down on the finale, so
yeah,
it'll be a good time to get in. Okay, we'll that's it for today. This was a very lively stream. Interesting perspectives and perceptions and interpretations. I'm technically an elder. I went through that Mankind Project training, the New Warrior training. I got my initiation necklace, and I am considered an elder in their scheme.
I'm also your elder machine. I am guru elder here. I'm 43. And I am completely I'm completely your elder, so
Yeah. Well, the drunk elder right now is going to go pass out in the recliner or something, and
I'm gonna say I'm gonna pass out right here, just like this. This is what.
That sounds good. Actually. That sounds like some good self-care. So, all right.
All
Well,
right,
we'll look
guys,
for
good
you
night.
later, and we'll be here tomorrow, maybe tonight.
We'll be here tonight. We're gonna try to play some Dokapon Kingdom.
Oh,
So
right.
guys,
Yeah, we're gonna try to do the script and the that video game.
Yeah.
So
We're
yeah,
gonna do
we'll
Dokapon
either be on
Kingdom.
this channel or Chris's, or we might double stream. So look for us
If
tonight
you-
doing something
If you
silly.
have a Steam account, you have to have a Steam account. If you even if you just sign up for a Steam account without any games on it, sign up for a Steam account and then send me your username, and I
And you
can
looking for
invite
you need
you.
2 more, me, you, and 2 others.
Yeah, we need 4 people.
Okay. So yeah, get with Chris if you want to join us. And
Yeah. Just on
We're gonna
Discord,
go-
just send me your Steam account ID, and you can play Dokapon Kingdom, and you could be the one that fucks us all over and makes us all mad at you, because that's the way the game works. So, good night, everybody. I'm dropping off now, and I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Good night.
all right, sleep well. We'll see you later. All right, I'm going to. That's nothing. I didn't eat at all today. This is very bad self-care on my part. I was supposed to go to the store before the stream, and I ended up getting involved in a bunch of stuff, and time got away from me. So I had to save it for after. So I have not had anything in me today, and I know for a fact when my blood sugar starts to drop, I can get irritable and testy. And so some of this is me needing to eat as well. So I'll own that part of it. So let me go take care of that, and then Frank, I'll meet you in the Discord. We're close to finishing up one of the Australian survivors, and so we'll do that. And then Chris and I will be back tonight, attempting to play a video game with demons, and or maybe reading through some of his script. So take care, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, it's probably going to be a frozen pizza or whatever frozen crap or packaged processed like grab and go that I can eat from the convenience store. I don't have a good diet right now because of my location, but that's something that I could improve in my self-care that I eventually plan to work on. I ate much better when I lived in Seattle and had access to fresh groceries. So all right, we'll see you later and get McDonald's. Yep. Wait for it. All righty. Talk to you later. It was great hanging out, guys. And see you tonight.